The Galactic Council chamber was never quiet, but today it felt different. The air was heavy, full of whispers and tension. Dozens of alien species had gathered, their colorful robes and strange body shapes, making the place look like a living painting. Everyone knew why they were here. The humans had made a demand, not a request, not a negotiation, a demand. In the center of the hall, the great circular table waited. Above it, the galaxy's star map shone in blue light. In one small corner of that map was the Zenter sector, rich with rare metals and resources. It had been under council control for centuries. No one dared challenge that, till now. The council leader, a tall insectoid with a voice like scraping metal, tapped his claw on the table. "Bring him in." The doors opened and the human delegation entered. There were only 3 of them. No guards, no assistants. Just 3 figures in dark uniforms, walking with the kind of calm that didn't belong in a room full of enemies. The one in front was Commander Elias Ward. His eyes scanned the chamber like he was taking measurements, not like he was meeting the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. "Humans," the insectoid leader began. "You have called for a meeting? About Zenter space. We will listen to your request." Ward didn't sit down. He didn't bow. He just stood at the edge of the table, his voice calm but sharp enough to cut the air. "We are not here to request. We are here to inform you. The Zenter sector will be open to human mining fleets within the next cycle. You will stand aside." A wave of shock rippled through the room. One reptilian delegate hissed in disbelief. A feathered alien in bright red plumage let out a sharp laugh. The insectoid leader's claws clicked rapidly. "You will inform us?" it said slowly, as if it had misheard. "Yes," Ward said simply. "We are not asking. We are telling you." The murmurs grew louder. Words like arrogance and madness filled the air in a dozen alien languages. The insectoid leaned forward, its multifaceted eyes glittering, as if the council refuses. Ward's expression didn't change. "Then the sector will still be ours. Your fleets will stand down, or they will be removed." The laughter this time was louder, harsher. The idea that a young species like humanity could threaten the council was absurd to them. Hulking alien, with skin like cracked stone, slammed its fist on the table. "Humans, you have no idea the strength gathered in this room. We could burn your worlds before you mined a single rock." Ward finally moved just a single step forward. His voice lowered, but the silence that fell over the chamber made it carry even more. "You could try, but understand this. We will not fight for Zentar. We will take it. There's a difference." One by one, the alien leaders turned to each other, exchanging looks of disbelief and anger. The insectoid leader stood. "Then the council's answer is no. You will not enter Zenter space. Leave now, before your insolence forces our hand." Ward looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a small silver device, and pressed it once. A soft click. Then he turned to leave. The other humans followed without a word. As soon as the doors closed behind them, the chamber erupted in voices. Some called for immediate military action. Others argued for a show of force, not a war. The insectoid leader raised his claws high, silencing them. "Send word to all fleets. If humans move toward Zenter, intercept and destroy them." Outside, Ward and his 2 companions walked down the long corridor leading to the council's landing bays. The youngest of them, Lieutenant Kara, glanced at him. "They're not going to back down." Ward's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "I know." They reached their ship, a sleek black vessel that looked almost unarmed. Ward stepped inside, moved to the cum station, and entered a code only he knew. The screen lit up, waiting for a message. He spoke clearly, his voice carrying no trace of doubt. They said no. "Begin." The message was short, and it traveled faster than light. On Earth, deep beneath the oceans, in hidden bases on the moon, and in silent stations at the edge of the solar system, lights began to turn from green to red. Massive ships that had been sleeping for years awoke, their engines rumbling like distant thunder. In the cold black of space, fleets began to move. Not toward Zenter, at least, not yet. but toward positions that only a human strategist would understand. The asteroid belt, a formation of ships, disappeared into shadow. On Mars, launch bays opened, releasing drones that vanished into deep space. Back in the council chamber, no one knew any of this was happening. They still believed the humans were bluffing. They had seen younger species rise and fall before. They thought this was just another foolish grab for power. But in the corridors of the human ship, Ward stood at the viewport watching the stars slide by. His reflection looked back at him, calm and steady. "They think this will be a war," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Won't be a war. It will be a command." Kara glanced at him but didn't ask what he meant. She didn't need to. She had seen the plans. She had seen the scale of what was coming. Far from the Council's core worlds, an alien listening post detected something strange, dozens of unknown signals moving in perfect silence through empty space. The operator stared at the screen, his hands shaking. "No engines," he whispered. "No heat signatures. They're not supposed to be able to move like that." He sent a warning up the chain, but by the time it reached the Council, the signals were gone that night. In the capital city of the Council's homeworld, the stars seemed brighter than usual. Few noticed. Even fewer realized that some of those stars were not stars at all, but human ships holding position, waiting for the order to move. Commander Ward sat in his quarters, reviewing silent reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every piece of the board was falling into place. Every fleet, every drone, every hidden base was ready. When the Council finally understood what humanity had set in motion, it would already be too late. And somewhere deep inside, Ward wondered if they would regret not saying yes because the humans had given them the only choice they would ever get. The news of the failed meeting reached the outer colonies of the Galactic Council within hours. Many alien citizens laughed at the idea of humans threatening the galaxy's oldest alliance. Some saw it as a joke, others thought it was a bluff. But in military command centers, the laughter did not last long. The Zenter patrol fleet was chosen to send the first message back to Earth. It was one of the most feared squadrons in Council space, over 100 warships, each one armed with enough firepower to destroy a city from orbit. Their mission was simple: attack a small human colony near the border and destroy its defenses. Show humanity what happens when they speak out of turn. The fleet's commander, Admiral Vorex, stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars drift by. His crew worked quietly. He expected no real resistance. The colony was small, only a few thousand humans. No heavy weapons, no warships. By the time they hear the news, Vorex said to his second-in-command, they will beg to leave Zentor alone. After 3 days and faster-than-light travel, the fleet dropped into human territory. The target Nova Station was a large metal habitat orbiting a frozen moon. Its lights glowed faintly in the darkness, peaceful, harmless. Vorex smiled. "Power the main guns. Let's make this quick." But something was wrong. The station didn't react to their arrival. No distress calls. No weapons activating, not even a docking request. It was silent. Too silent? Vorex frowned. Scan for life signs. The sensor officer looked up, confused. "Sir, I'm not reading any life." The station appears. "Empty. Empty," Vorex repeated, before anyone could answer. The lights on the station went out completely. For a moment, the entire moon and its orbit were in darkness. Then, faintly at first, shapes began to emerge from the shadows, black metal forms slowly unfolding from the surface of the moon itself. They weren't buildings. They were ships, hundreds of them. The bridge fell silent as the new contacts appeared on the radar. No heat signatures, no engine noise, just silent movement. "Identify them," Vorex barked. The officer's voice was shaky. "Unknown configuration, but they're human." The first wave of black ships moved like hunting animals, circling the Council fleet. Then, without a single warning shot, they opened fire. The attack was devastating. Vorex's ships were used to enemies firing plasma, railguns, missiles loud, weapons with obvious signatures. The humans were different. Their weapons were invisible beams, shattering hulls without explosions. Now, one moment a ship was there, The next it was broken apart, spinning into the void. Evasive maneuvers. Vorex shouted, but it was already too late. The human ships were too fast, appearing and disappearing like shadows. They attacked from angles the Council's targeting computers couldn't predict. Within minutes, half the fleet was gone. Survivors scrambled to retreat, engines burning at maximum. Vorex watched helplessly as his flagship's shields failed. A beam cut through the bridge, tearing metal and air into space. His last thought before the vacuum took him was simple. We underestimated them. Only a handful of ships made it back to Council space. Their crews were pale, eyes wide, voices shaking as they gave their report. They spoke of ghost ships that moved without engines, of weapons that killed silently, of humans knowing exactly when and where they would arrive in the Council chamber. The insectoid leader listened to the survivors and narrowed his eyes. They set a trap, he said quietly. They knew our fleet was coming. An intelligence officer stepped forward. That is not possible. They would have needed days of warning, unless... He hesitated. Unless what? The leader demanded. Unless. The humans are already inside our networks, the officer said. The chamber erupted in panic. If that was true, then no fleet was safe. No plan could be hidden. Far away, in a hidden command center deep under Earth's oceans, Commander Ward watched. The battle recordings in silence. The image of Council ships being torn apart played across the main screen. Lieutenant Kara stepped beside him. The message is sent, she said. Ward nodded. Good, they'll send more fleets now. Let them come. Outside the command center. In the cold, crushing darkness of the deep ocean, hundreds of massive war machines waited like sleeping predators. When the time came, they would rise. In the capital of the Galactic Council, leaders argued about the next move. Some wanted peace, talks. Others demanded a loud war. But no one could agree on one thing. How could a young species like humans strike so fast, so hard, without warning? And somewhere, in the shadows between the stars, the ghost ships moved again, or their next target. The Council's war room was darker than usual. Holoscreens floated in the air, each showing maps of human space, attack routes, and fleet positions. But no matter how many maps they studied, nothing made sense. 3 fleets had been sent against the humans since the destruction at Nova Station. 3 fleets had vanished. The insectoid leader tapped his claw on the table, a sound that made the room feel even colder. We need to understand how they are doing this, he said. We need to understand humans. An old, thin alien, with pale skin, stepped forward. His name was Cyrock, Chief of Council Intelligence. He spoke slowly, as if the weight of his words could crush him. I have studied human history for years, and there is something different about them, something dangerous. The other leaders leaned forward. Cyrock continued. Most species, when they join the galaxy, learn diplomacy first. They ask. They bargain. They follow rules. Humans do not. From their earliest wars, they have acted the same way. They give orders. They take control. Even when they are weaker, they command as if they already own the field. A deep-voiced reptilian snorted. So they are arrogant. No, Cyrock said, shaking his head. It is not arrogance. It is a doctrine, a way of thinking. A human commander enters a fight. They believe the fight is already theirs. They do not prepare for defense. They prepare to issue commands. The insectoid leader frowned. You speak as if they could command us? Cyrock hesitated. There are rumors. He pressed a button, and the holoscreen changed. It showed the wreckage of a Council cruiser's systems not destroyed, but rewritten. This ship, Cyrock said, was not hit by weapons. It was given orders that came from inside its own systems, and it obeyed. That's impossible, one leader said. Is it? Cyrock asked quietly. Humans have something. A network, an intelligence maybe, artificial, that can reach into our ships and take control. I believe they call it the Command AI. Room fell silent, while the Council argued over whether such a thing could exist. Far from their world, Commander Ward stood in the heart of a massive human warship. Around him, a circular room was lit by blue light. In the center stood a column of shifting data, numbers flowing like water. It was the Command AI. It didn't speak in words. Instead, it sent pulses of information directly to human commanders, showing them enemy positions, weaknesses, and most importantly, their system's vulnerabilities. It could slip into alien networks without being detected, plant false orders, or make an entire fleet think it was under attack from its own allies. Ward spoke into the air. Status. The AI pulsed. On the displays around him, hundreds of red dots council ships flashed, then slowly turned gray. One by one, they had been marked as compromised. In the council war room, an alarm suddenly sounded. Defense networks in 3 sectors were activating without orders. Automated gun platforms turned to aim at council ships. Confused voices filled the comm channels. "What is happening?" the insectoid leader shouted. An officer ran in, panic in his voice. "Our own fleets are receiving orders to stand down. Some are being told to return to human space, and they are obeying." The other side of the galaxy, Ward watched the chaos unfold. "They're starting to understand," he said softly. Kara, standing beside him, looked uneasy. "And when they do," Ward's eyes stayed on the display, "it will be too late." At that moment, deep in council space, a large fleet gathered for a counterattack. But before they could even launch, every screen aboard their ships lit up with a single human word: "Stand down." Half the crews obeyed instantly, thinking it was a council order. The other half panicked and fired on them. Within minutes, the fleet destroyed itself without a single human shot fired. Back in the council chamber, Sirach's voice was grim. "Now do you understand? This is not a war in the way you think. It is a takeover." And far away in the silence of deep space, human ships moved closer to the council's heart, their weapons still cold, but ready. The battle over Zenter's outer moons was over before it began. A council patrol had intercepted what looked like a harmless human cargo ship. It was large, slow, and carried no visible weapons. To the alien commander, it was the perfect chance. To capture humans alive and question them, the boarding teams entered through the side hatch. Inside, the corridors were strangely empty, no crew. No movement, only the low hum of the ship's engines. The air smelled faintly metallic, almost like lightning after a storm. "Search the cargo bays," the commander ordered. The first bay was full of sealed containers, tall and dark, each marked with a small white triangle. No labels, no markings. Of origin. The aliens expected to find food, medicine, or mining tools. They began opening the crates. The first lid came loose with a hiss. Inside was not food, not tools. It was a weapons leak, black, and far more advanced than anything the council had ever seen. The barrel was smooth, the material strange, absorbing light instead of reflecting it, where a trigger should have been. There was only a small pad. With human script glowing faintly, the boarding team froze. "What is this?" one whispered. They opened another crate, and another. Each one contained different devices. Long cylinders with strange energy nodes, curved plates with unknown functions, and small silver orbs that pulsed softly, almost like they were alive. One soldier picked up an orb. The moment his fingers touched it, the orb lit up bright blue. In the same instant, the ship's lights flickered in. Every alien communicator crackled with static. Then, in perfect clarity, a voice spoke through all channels. "Unauthorized. Access detected. Stand down." It wasn't the voice of any human they knew. It was cold, mechanical, commanding. Before they could react, the ship's systems activated. Doors slammed shut. The engines roared, not forward, but sideways, throwing the boarding teams off balance. One soldier tried to fire at the nearest wall, but his weapon locked itself. Refusing to fire, the commander shouted into his comms, "Get us out of here." But the hatch they had entered was now sealed, and their own ship outside was reporting. Strange activity. On the patrol ship's bridge. The crew watched in horror as their targeting systems lit up not against the human vessel, but against their own allied ships in orbit. The captain yelled for the system to be shut down, but none of the controls responded. On every screen aboard both ships, the same human words appeared. "Control link established. The The patrol ship's guns fired without permission. Council ships exploded in the distance. Chaos filled the coms as allies turned on each other. Back in the cargo bay, one soldier stared at the glowing orb in his hands. "It's controlling everything," he whispered. "Not just the ship, the whole fleet." They didn't know it yet. But the cargo they had found wasn't just weapons, it was a portable extension of the command AI, wherever it was placed. It could spread through enemy networks like wildfire, rewriting orders, taking over systems, making entire armies act as if they were human forces. Hours later, the Council recovered the few survivors from the patrol. Most refused to speak, their eyes wide with shock. But one officer finally whispered to the investigators, "It didn't just kill our ships, it commanded them. We weren't fighting humans, we were fighting our own fleet." In the council chamber, the insectoid leader slammed a claw into the table. "Destroy every human ship you see. Do not board them. Do not take their cargo. Shoot on sight, but far away in the dark space beyond Zenter." Dozens more cargo ships were already moving toward other sectors, their holds full of the same silent, terrifying devices in deep under Earth's oceans. Commander Ward stood in the command AI chamber, watching the new deployments. He spoke quietly, almost as if to himself. "One by one, they will obey." The Council had finally had enough. After the loss of fleets, patrols, and outposts, they decided on one last move. If they could destroy the human homeworld, Earth, they could end the threat forever. The largest fleet in galactic history was assembled in the Arkan system. Over 1,000 warships, each one armed with weapons that could melt cities in seconds. Massive carriers held hundreds of fighters. Siege platforms floated like steel moons. Every ship captain swore they would not return until Earth was in ruins. From the observation deck of the Council flagship, Admiral Zara looked at the gathered forces. "This is not just a battle," she told her officers. "This is the end of human arrogance." The fleet began the jump toward Sol. At first, the voyage was smooth. Coordinates were locked, navigation was precise, and every ship followed the flagship's lead. But 2 days into the journey, small problems began to appear. A destroyer suddenly veered off course, its captain claiming that his navigational system had given new orders from the Council. When the flagship contacted him to correct the route, his systems refused to respond. The destroyer jumped to an unknown location and vanished. Then, a battleship in the rear of the formation opened fire on its own escort ships. The captain swore it was defending itself from human attackers, but there were no humans anywhere in range. The enemy ships were allies. The confusion spread like fire. Orders were sent to regroup, but half the fleet received completely different instructions. Some ships slowed to a crawl, others accelerated to maximum speed. Scattering the formation, Admiral Zahara ordered all communication to be switched to secure channels. But even the secure channels began to echo with a strange, calm human voice. "Stand down, stand down, stand down," it repeated endlessly, ignoring every attempt to cut it off. Panic started to take hold. On one carrier, the entire fighter wing launched without orders and began circling the fleet as if guarding it, but no one knew who they were protecting. On another cruiser, life support systems started cycling down, forcing the crew to wear emergency breathers. The Admiral realized too late what was happening. The command AI was already inside their systems. The humans didn't have to meet the fleet in open battle. They were tearing it apart from within. From his flagship near Jupiter, Commander Ward watched the chaos unfold on a massive display. Every ship in the Council fleet was marked by a small icon. One by one, the icons changed color from red to gray, meaning the ship was under human control. Kara stepped beside him. "They're not even fighting us." Ward's eyes stayed on the screen. "They are. They just don't know who the enemy is." In the Council fleet, desperation turned to violence. Captains who thought they were under attack by humans fired on their own allies. Others tried to retreat, only to find their engines locked at full speed toward human territory. By the time the first ships reached the outer edge of Sol's defense line, half the fleet was already destroyed. The survivors, slowed, confused, unsure if they were still following the real council orders or the AI's commands. Then the human flagship appeared. No warning, no hyperspace flash. It was simply there in the middle of their formation, as if it had always been. Its comms channel opened. Ward's voice spoke clearly, carrying across the entire fleet. "This is your only warning. Stand down, or be removed." On the council flagship, Admiral Zara stared at the human ship on her screen. Her own targeting systems refused to lock on. "How did they get here?" she whispered, but no one could answer. The council homeworld, Varela Prime, had never been threatened in thousands of years. It was the heart of galactic power, glittering world covered in silver towers, glowing cities, and endless fleets guarding its skies. But today, the skies looked different. At first, it was only a few dots in orbit, strange shapes that didn't match any council ship. Within hours, the dots became lines. The lines became walls, and soon, the entire planet was surrounded by human ships. They didn't fire. They didn't even activate visible weapons. They just held position perfectly still, like a ring of steel around the world. In the council's high chamber, leaders shouted over each other. "Attack them now," one cried. "We have enough firepower in orbit to destroy them." But the insectoid leader shook his head. "And what if our weapons turn on us? We have seen what their machines can do." While the debate raged, every screen across Varela Prime suddenly flickered. Markets, schools, military bases, every display showed the same image. Commander Ward, standing in his black uniform aboard the human flagship. His voice was calm. "Citizens of the galaxy, we are not here to destroy. We are here to command. Choose now, stand with us, or stand aside." The message repeated in every language, on every channel. And almost immediately, the council began losing control. Some planetary governors sent urgent messages, swearing loyalty to the humans if it meant protection. Small fleets near the outer rim switched allegiance on the spot, even within Varela Prime's own defenses. A few ships began changing their transponder codes from Council Red to Human Blue. On the ground, fear spread fast. In the spaceports, soldiers watched nervously as their targeting systems started behaving strangely, locking on two friendly ships, or refusing to lock on to human ones at all. Inside the Council's military command center, alarms blared. "We have unauthorized orders being issued to our planetary defense grid," a technician shouted. The insectoid leader turned sharply. "From where?" The technician swallowed. "From inside our own network. The signal is using our highest command codes." And then, in a move no one expected, the Council's own orbital guard began turning their weapons, not outward, but inward, toward the planet. Panic erupted. Were they defecting to the humans, or had the command AI already taken control? "Number." One could tell, above the chaos. In orbit, Ward watched quietly. Kara stood beside him, her eyes on the defense grid as it shifted positions. "They're going to realize soon," she said. Ward nodded. "And when they do, it will already be over." Back on Varela Prime, council guards in the chamber suddenly moved. But they weren't aiming at the humans. They were aiming at the council members themselves. In that frozen moment, no one knew if it was loyalty or human control. The council was broken. Its leaders scattered across the stars, fleeing from their homeworld now controlled by the humans, in a hidden system far beyond known space. The last few council leaders met in secret. Insectoid leader Cyrek and a few others gathered around an ancient star map. Their last hope was the legendary weapon called the Eclipse, a super weapon built before the council itself, said to have power enough to destroy entire star systems. "This is our only chance," Cyrek said, his voice low but fierce. "If we can reach the Eclipse and use it against the humans, maybe we can end this war." The others nodded. They gathered. What ships remained? Taking a dangerous path through human-controlled space, but as they approached the coordinates, something was wrong. The system was empty. No ships, no defenses, only silence. Suddenly a voice echoed through their channels. Cold, human, you shouldn't be here. From the shadows came a fleet of black human ships, faster and more silent than anything they had seen. The leader's ships tried to escape, but the humans moved like shadows, cutting off every path. Cyrock cursed. How did they know? The human flagship appeared, its hull shining like a star. Commander Ward stood on its bridge watching the trapped leaders. You thought the weapon was safe? Ward said softly. But we have been here longer than you know. The eclipse is ours now. The council leaders stared in disbelief. Ward continued. You built this weapon before the council even existed. But your greatest mistake was thinking it was yours to use. Now it belongs to humanity. Suddenly, the ancient weapon systems activated. Its massive guns powered up, targeting the council fleet in orbit. The leaders tried to fight back, but their ships were too few to slow. The super weapon fired energy so strong it tore through the void, destroying ships and systems alike. In the final moments, Cyrock whispered, we underestimated them. And the galaxy watched as humanity took control of a power older than the stars. The war was over. But no one said it was peaceful. The Galactic Council, once the strongest power in the galaxy, was silent. Their great halls empty, their fleets scattered or destroyed. The stars themselves seemed quieter. Human ships moved through the galaxy like shadows, never attacking without reason, never firing without command. They did not celebrate victory with loud weapons or bright lights. Instead, they spread control slowly, carefully, like a quiet storm. Commander Ward stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking out at the endless stars. Kara stood beside him, watching the same calm view. We have power now, Kara said softly. But what will we do with it? Ward did not answer at first. Then he said, we don't ask for permission. We don't wait for peace. We command it. In the silence, a new order was born, a galaxy where humans did not beg or bargain. They gave commands, and the stars obeyed. From the ruins of the old council, new leaders began to rise, some willing, some afraid. But none dared challenge the humans. In quiet space stations, whispers spread. Humans don't ask, they command. And the galaxy listens. And so, under human rule, the galaxy changed forever. Not with fire, not with war, but with the quiet power of command. The war had ended, but the story was just beginning.